other yoga teachers listening to this feel inspired by that, because I think for a lot of them, it probably feels like something has been taken away, and it definitely has. I don't want to gloss over that, but it's kind of like when one door closes, another opens. Like there is a whole world out there. And I think there's really a need for everyone's unique voice. And I think what we're going to see is teachers connecting more directly with their students in a very powerful way. And that there can be a lot of excitement during this time, if that's the way you choose to perceive it.
That was Brett Larkin. Hey everyone, Danny Palmploon here. Welcome back to the Yogi Misfit Sessions. Quick heads up, the show is going to be changing names in September, so you can look forward to the show being called Seeker and Sage. I actually got Brett with me to do the intro. Hi, Brett.
Hey, what's up?
What do we get into in today's session?
Well, I think you all should definitely listen. We talk about the future of yoga, with it all being online. We talk about online yoga teacher trainings. We talk about Yoga Alliance, and then business mindset and pivoting your business to online.
It's a really, really, really yummy and juicy episode. Whether you're a student or a teacher, it's just kind of good to know where the landscape is. And Brett, because I had you here in person, I don't really get to do this. I know you have some trainings coming up, and I wanted to give you the opportunity to just talk about what you got going on.
Yeah, I have a couple online Yoga Alliance approved teacher trainings coming up. I have a 200-hour, a 300-hour, which is the same as the 500-hour RYT, which is really cool. So if you already have your 200-hour, you can get your 300/500 online. And then brand new, drumroll, Kundalini 200-hour teacher training this fall as well. So all that info is on my website, and the code DANNI, DANNI, will get you $100.
Huzzah!
Yeah.
Cool. And I'll leave all the links down in the show notes as well. If you love the show after you hear it, you're going to love it, especially after this one. Make sure you head over to iTunes and leave us a review. You can always check out the support the podcast page as well, because it's not cheap to support or to make the show. Without further ado, should we get into the show, Brett?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Brett Larkin, YouTube superstar, you're here.
Hi, I'm happy to be here.
Or rather, I'm here because I'm here at your house.
Yeah, we're in person, which is pretty amazing for these times.
I haven't done a podcast in person in quite some time.
I know, it's almost weird. I wish you were in a screen.
Okay, good talk. We'll see you later. Bye. So I've been hanging out at your house for a few days now. And are you sick and tired of me yet?
No, not at all.
That's great. So I'm breaking it to you live. I'm planning on staying here a little bit longer. I hope that's okay. While I've been here, you have been busy.
Yeah, I have. It's been a really exciting time. For listeners who don't know who I am, I started as a yoga YouTuber many, many years ago, as early as 2012. So I was kind of into online yoga before it became necessary for everyone. And I was one of the first people to put a full 200-hour yoga teacher training online in 2015. So coming up on over 5 years ago. So I actually received a lot of criticism when I did that back then. And then it's just kind of interesting now, because all yoga teacher trainings are online, and it's been an interesting summer for my company, because we've seen obviously a lot of growth and a lot of interest in our online programs. So it has been, as you said, busy.
So I had Priscilla, who's, she's my operations goddess on the show, and she has a company that she does some side stuff as well, where she helps people, with their yoga businesses. And we started talking about this a little bit, and we actually got a lot of feedback where people wanted to hear more about it. There's a lot of yoga teachers and a lot of yoga practitioners that were like, well, what's this going to be like? And it's interesting for me to hear you say, that to see you just be a lot busier, because I thought that COVID would really do the opposite. I thought it was going to pull people away.
I did too. It's so interesting you say that, because when all of this, the news of all of this first hit, my husband and I were actually really nervous. We just bought a new house, the one you're staying in. And I know. And he had also recently, we were talking about him leaving his job to help me with the business, which is something we'd been talking about for many years. And yeah, he thought that just the economy was going to collapse, and that the trainings would not be as full as they normally were. He was kind of like, we should brace for things slowing down for a while and start getting really conservative. And so that was sort of what we anticipated. And then it was such a surprise when the absolute reverse ended up happening. We just literally the absolute reverse. I think what happened was a lot of people who were planning to do yoga teacher training in the summer, maybe travel, maybe do intensives, had plans to do it in person. All of a sudden that was all canceled, but they still wanted to do it. And so they were turning to online.
I think that from what I'm witnessing, I mean, our country is obviously very different than a lot of countries right now with COVID specifically. And I actually don't see the landscape of this changing back anytime soon. In fact, I mean, what did you tell me the other day that there's lots of talk within Yoga Alliance about them changing everything to online and, yada, 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 yada. What is it? I guess, now that the shoe's on the other foot, so to speak, for you, like you've been doing this for quite a while. What's your opinion on, everyone just kind of like just popping up?
I think what COVID's done is it kind of has accelerated the inevitable. I mean, I always knew that all yoga teacher trainings would be online. I felt really confident about that in 2014 when I started this. And especially in like 2016 and 2017, after I started graduating all these people and seeing how intimate online could be. I was using Zoom, I was using breakout rooms, I think before people were really familiar with Zoom. And I just saw that, of course, in person is wonderful and has value, but that there's incredible educational advantages to doing this online, being able to freeze frame alignment, look at more people's bodies. I mean, there's just really cool ways that technology can enhance learning. So I knew that everything would end up online. I just thought it would take, it's just so fascinating how long it takes people to adapt to change. So I thought it might take, well, I'm optimistic. So I thought it would take maybe 10 years, probably more realistic would have been like 15. So I think what we've seen with COVID is just like, instead of it taking 5, 10, 15 years for online to become the new normal, it's just like suddenly become the new normal literally overnight. So it's just kind of accelerated what I think I knew was already going to happen, but it's kind of a roller coaster because it was just forced to be so fast. And none of us really know what this is going to look like. I think we're going to hear some announcements from Yoga Alliance soon. I think they're in a very difficult position. They never had sanctioned online learning for the RYT 200 or 300 designation, only for continuing education. They always were very strict with me because I had in-person and online programs. 2 weeks before COVID hit, they were in some ways auditing some of my systems, making sure that people who trained online weren't getting through Yoga Alliance in person. So ironic, literally 2 weeks after a lot of emails with them, it's just like, online sanctioned, everything's fine. You can do whatever you want. There's no rules. Like it's all fine. So yeah, I mean, nobody knows. It's just been wild. I think they're probably in a hard position because I think they probably want to support the studios. They want to keep the value of in person. And I do think in person has value, so much value. I mean, I've always wanted to be an alternative. The people who take my trainings are people who don't have the option for in person, either because they're in the military or they work, a crazy schedule as a doctor or nurse, or they're a mom with 5 kids, right? Like those are very much the people that I'm serving. So I don't know what they're going to do.
Yeah. I'm looking at just the online space in general, and there are a couple things that I'm just like, oh gosh, like I see these trainings just popping up like left and right, and some of them are like, where did you come from and how did you piecemeal this together? Like I've seen ads on Facebook and Instagram and whatnot, but there's like a pre-recorded 200-hour teacher training for $399, and
yes. And that's actually always existed. It's just like there's opportunity right now because Yoga Alliance isn't monitoring anything. So I think those players have always been in the space, but now all of a sudden they've like 3x or 6x'd in volume because it's just a great opportunity to make a quick buck. As you know, my training is really expensive. It is not $399, but that's because it's actually a real full 200 hours, over 60 or 70 of which are live in person with you practice teaching and mentorship. And I mean, it's so intimate. We divide you into little groups. There's a manual shipped to you. There's an app. I mean, it's just like such a intimate experience, where we really get to know you. I always wanted to try to recreate the studio experience online. So, I do think when Yoga Alliance announces what it chooses to, hopefully soon, it's going to wipe out a lot of those players. From what I've heard, they want to make the new contact hours, aka Zoom, a requirement. I don't think a lot of these kind of quickly put together playlist of video trainings are well equipped or set up to do the kind of thing you and me do, and probably the people listening to this do, which is like actually talk to and train people in real time with mentorship and accountability and guiding them and helping them find their voice and that kind of thing. Yeah,
your infrastructure for your trainings, you've been doing, I think you were the first on the market, if I'm like not.
There was one other, and she's great. She and I have actually started talking recently. So,
oh, that's cool.
Yeah, but her training is it doesn't have the kind of Zoom in-person aspect.
Got it.
But she and I hit the market around the same time.
Got it. Yeah, your infrastructure on yours is definitely like the most, I also know you on a personal level, so like anything you do is dialed in 110%.
I know this other yoga teacher YouTube friend of mine, she was like, your YTT brochure is 75 pages. She was like, that's not normal. Like, well, I like people to understand what they're getting and how it works. Like both, like the 300-hour one's like that long too. It's bad.
You've been such a big advocate on the online space. I credit a lot of, what I do. So everyone knows I launched an app. If you don't know, I launched an app. And the reason why I launched the app was actually because of working with Brett. We're friends, and then we worked together on a working relation. What am I trying to say? We worked together in a working relationship, right? Yeah. You coached me on the side, and you've been such a big advocate on the online space for quite a while. Was this something that you just saw that was a need, or just after experiencing it, I guess in YouTube, you were just like, this is something that needs to go down?
Yeah, it's such an interesting question. I think ultimately I just had some really powerful yogic experiences online myself, and I just knew that it was valid. I have told this story on other podcasts I've been in, or been on, but I think probably around 2012 or maybe even earlier than that, I was in India and doing yoga, but in my teeny tiny hotel room in India, there was like space for a yoga mat next to my bed. It was so small. But I took a class with Elena Brower somehow online, and it was such an incredible experience. It must have been through Yoga Glow or something, like before anyone even knew about Yoga Glow. I just loved Elena Brower back then. So I did her class online, and there was something, those yoga classes that just stand out in your mind because you had an emotional release and they were profound and like something opened within you. And I had that experience, and it was just so ironic because it was like, here I was having that experience with Elena in India where I was to like do yoga, right? But actually the most potent experience I had was online through her because, of my connection to her as a teacher. But it just really validated like, whoa, online can be not just as powerful as in person, it can potentially be more powerful because it was way more powerful than any of the in-person stuff I was doing in India. So I think that was like a really critical moment for me where I was like, if I can have this experience, then anyone can. And I think I was probably one of the first, I don't know, I'd say a couple hundred or 1,000 subscribers to Yoga Glow because I wrote them that very night. And I think the CEO wrote me back or something, like they were still really small. So I think that kind of just like instilled this belief that this is interesting. This is the way to go. And I always worked a full-time job up until this company was built in such a way that it could kind of sustain me and the lifestyle and the income that I wanted. So online to me was always, I wouldn't say like appealing. I was just like, this is the only way I can do this. I'm not going to be able to like teach in studios. I did teach in studios for years, as you know, but it was always, after work or during lunch break or on the weekend. I knew that for me, as someone who was working a corporate job while I built everything up, that like online was going to be scalable, online was going to be more flexible. And I love video and I love editing and I love technology. So it just was almost like a more natural fit.
Yeah, I mean, one of my biggest frustrations that we talk about all the time, that I'm actually, I was really skeptical, and I think you told me, in our last phone conversation, I'm in the process of doing a major overhaul to the app. It's getting like so many cool new features, and I really just listened to everyone that was subscribed, and they wanted downloads and audio, and they wanted to have like community built in the app. So I built it, and I'm in the process of finishing it. And while I was setting it up the first time, I was like, well, I don't know, Brad. I just think it's gonna no, it's not gonna be great. And you're like, Danny, this is gonna be really good. And I really pushed back. And then when I told you, I was like, okay, Brett, I need to change all the things, because now it's the people like it and it's got to be better. And you're like, I told you it was going to work. I've really thoroughly, just like what you said, like what was the thing I told you before I headed up here? We were on the phone, and I was like, I'm not doing great. I cannot teach 20 things a week and, be in like this one-on-one space, whether I'm on Zoom or, in person's even worse, because I'm like traveling from one place to another, but I can't do it. I just can't do it. I'm at 36 now. I don't want to run around town. It's a lot. And I now see not only the validity of it, but I guess I had to experience, and I like to learn things the hard way. And I also didn't think that it was going to be like, I'm such an in-person teacher, festivals, retreats, I love that stuff. But I've gotten so much great feedback from students that can now practice with me. Like literally, you can put me in your pocket. And I mean, we joke about that in emails that I send out, like, take me with you. Mm-hmm. And it's been, I don't know, this whole like, I mean, you've been doing this for quite a while online, and now for me, I'm just like, this whole like brand new world is opening up, and it's quite incredible. And to your point too, like, I love editing. I didn't think I was going to like editing, but now I'm really like, I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying putting everything together. A real close friend, Flo, he sat me down, kind of like gave me this whole like workflow on how to do it, because he's really into it. And yeah, it's just been great to be able to create these like mini experiences, working on some of the content that I'm working on for you.
Yeah, well, hopefully, other yoga teachers listening to this feel inspired by that, because I think for a lot of them, it probably feels like something has been taken away, and it definitely has. I don't want to gloss over that, but it's kind of like when one door closes, another opens. Like there is a whole world out there. And I think there's really a need for everyone's unique voice. And I think what we're going to see is teachers connecting more directly with their students in a very powerful way. And that there can be a lot of excitement during this time, if that's the way you choose to perceive it.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's cool too, because like I did a training in the past, and I would have never have thought to do like a Zoom reunion class, Mm-hmm. So we like got a hold of everyone. We were like, does everyone want to get together for a practice? And then we'll have, tea afterwards, or like just hang out and like check in with each other. And so it's been just like, I don't know, there's way more opportunity now than there was back then.
I think more people are open to it too. I mean, it's interesting. Like I had a whole section of my training that was sort of like an orientation, a huge thing that we did the first week, where we taught everyone to use Zoom. We taught them the Zoom controls. Like we literally this summer just eliminated that part of the curriculum, because everyone knows how to use Zoom now, like it's not 2015 anymore, where, like that was like built into the training. And now it's just like, yeah, everyone's familiar. Everyone knows how to do it. It's just so interesting. I mean, even so much of my marketing in the past has been trying to validate online as a, method that you can really learn and get really skillful. Mm-hmm. And I've literally just taken all that marketing out, because I don't need to convince people of that anymore. Like they're sold, So I think for those of you who are just starting out, I mean, you don't have any of the obstacles that I had being so early to the space. Same thing with the technology. I mean, it's been really fun, like advising and helping you out as you set up your tech stack and infrastructure, because it's so much simpler than mine. Like when I started there, like you couldn't have like your email and your landing page and your shopping cart, like all in one amazing package.
Yeah.
Like I had to use 6 different services, and for some of it, you needed to know how to code. And so everyone who's starting now, like you're so lucky. You have so many resources available. There's so many like incredible software that's available. And the market, your students are more, they're just ready. They're ready to practice with you on Zoom. They're down. You don't have to sell them into it.
Yeah. And I mean, I mean, like you said, I think that in-person space is really important. And that's something that I definitely want to go back to when it's time and space to go back to in-person. But I have okay, so we've done like some of the tech stuff, right, that we work together on, but also the coaching that you have taken me through. It's so funny because you started coaching me before we actually like set up a coaching relationship when we first met. The reason why I even started an email list was because of you.
You're welcome.
The reason this podcast exists is because of Brett. But as I start to set all this stuff up, I'm really, I can, like you're saying, I the fatigue for me for like, I don't have to run around is starting to like, I see the light at the end of that tunnel. And I also see less Danny having to run around everywhere and more quality Danny when you get him.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. It's starting to feel, and it's kind of like, the story when I was on the podcast, when I told the story, like when I was a bartender and then I became a yoga instructor and how I had to like work bartending and then yoga instructing. Finally got to the point where I could like jump, and now it's like the point where like, okay, I'm like teaching the 20 things a week, but I'm building this, platform that I truly believe in that I think is awesome. And it's, going to be super impactful and helpful, but I can't just like stop teaching the 20 things until, this thing starts to get where it's, it's a transition from one thing to another. And what I'm excited about with that, like what, the mindset stuff that we've worked on is I am looking forward to having not only my 2 days off, because that's something that that's important, but also 2 creative days where I just get to wake up and have a cup of coffee and roll my mat out and pull a book out and take a class and then pull my notes out and then create, and then grab my camera out, maybe film something or maybe edit something or maybe put something together or, what did you call it? You said, sometimes it's that state where I might be in the shower that day and an idea might hit me and I need to like pull that down, but I need to have that time and space in order to make, to create things.
Yeah. And I think, maybe you want to speak a little bit to people about the transition that you've been through, because you went through it more. I think people don't believe me when I say like that you learn the tech stuff and you slowly start to enjoy it. But it's been interesting for me watching you, because I think a year and a half ago, you were still, we're not going to say whining, but you were like, I don't want to edit. This is hard. I want to tear my hair out. Like, I hate this email. Everyone has that initial like resistance. That's and right, yeah. It's been so cool having you at my house this week and watching you. And you're just like working on your emails. I've been getting your newsletter like from like while you're upstairs, like you're editing, you're organized, like all of these things that I think felt really painful to you 18 months ago. Like I just see you excelling, and it just seems like it's now as easy to you as like playing the harmonium, right? So I don't know, maybe you could talk to people a little bit about that, because I think the tech stuff feels so hard for them at first, and that's probably where a lot of teachers are right now. But there seems to have been a pivot with you where now it's just flowing.
Yeah, I mean, it goes on both accounts, right? For both studentship and for teachership. For students, like transitioning to the space online is one thing, and then also, like on the teacher side for the business of it is picking up all the tools and resources. And for me, it was just, whatever you want to cloud it with, whether it was like practicing online or learning all the things, it was figuring out where the resistance was and knowing that the resistance was probably going to lead to some change. So one, it was a little bit of mindset stuff. I think that I was afraid of like learning the tech. I was afraid of learning the emails. I was afraid of doing this because knew that it was probably going to be growth. And in some sort of way, I knew that I was comfortable and like what I did worked. It did really well and And so I didn't want to shake it up. But now going into that space, and which is kind of funny to say because it's only been like a year and a half since I started to develop all these things and move these things, the technology has yet again changed and it's even way more simpler. I got frustrated with, creating like pages and like, memberships and then and you have to learn this and that. But now, my team often has to be like, stop working on website stuff because we know you love that. It's just another way to be creative. For me, it has been a way to get creative. 1, 2, it has now taught me a whole new, you guys, I can launch an app. Like if you want to launch an app, come talk to Brett or me because we know how to do it. But I have this whole new skill set. I know how to edit video. I know how to, do images. Not I'm not the best at it. I'm not a specialist in any of these, in any one thing. But it's been super stimulating mentally. And because I'm not using that time in transit to do something else, it now gives me more space to read or to study or to practice. There are some small tasks where you're like, oh, this is kind of boring and like like anything else, like, that whole, like, do what you love and you'll never work. Bull crap. I work really hard. So do you. And there's some tasks where we're just like, okay, it's a task. But I mean, I can't get enough of it. Like I think that if I ever stop teaching yoga, which I don't plan on it, I'll probably, manage like design and setup and back end stuff for yoga teachers because it's actually really fun. It's a really, for me, I thoroughly enjoyed the skill set.
Yeah. For those of you, I think, that are feeling that resistance or overwhelm or, like tech fear, it really is a doorway to just insane creativity and a new way to exercise your self-expression if you just stick with it. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that would be my big advice is just like, know there is a light at the end of this tunnel.
What do you say for I'm curious to hear your opinion. I don't think I've asked you this yet. There's so much yoga out there. There's so much yoga. There's Instagram. Everyone's doing Instagram Live free, and everyone's got a YouTube channel now, and everyone's doing this, and everyone's doing that, and everyone's on Zoom. And like, what's your?
Oh yeah, my students ask me about that, or my teachers in training. Mm-hmm. We talk about this all the time, especially at the 300-hour level, because there's a whole module that's just about mindset. Yoga is on the rise. I think we're at a point in the evolution of human consciousness where yoga is just going to keep becoming more and more important. Information is available right now at a rate that is, I think we've all heard this stat where it's like each of us each day take in more information in a 24-hour period than like our great grandparents like had access to in their entire life or something like that. Like it's crazy.
Yeah.
So it's like in tandem with what's going on in our planet, with the internet and just how much information is available. Like in order to counteract and be able to handle all of that, we're going to need the technology of yoga. Ever since yoga started coming into the mainstream, like in the 80s and early 90s, it's only grown. There's never been really a point where it's like tanked and everyone's interested in something else. So I really think that like every single person's going to be doing yoga, every child, every school. What exactly they'll be calling it, I don't know. But I really think that everyone who's a teacher or who's in training, it's like we're just the early adopters. Like we're that part of the wolf pack that is just like caught on super, super early. And so we're all just the leaders who are going to bring everyone else with us. Like there could not be enough of us if we tried. Yeah. And then I think everyone is really unique. It like gets me emotional because in my 300/500, whatever, like RYT program, we have everyone lead the opening meditation and take turns. You experience that when you guest taught, right? Yeah. And everyone is just so friggin' talented, and so completely different. It's just mind-blowing to me how unique everyone's voice is and special their kind of unique flavor. And most of you, I'm sure, who are teachers or who are students, you don't just love your teacher because they're a yoga teacher. It's like very often they have other skill sets, like they know about astrology or Reiki or fascial fitness or who knows. But I think the more you can let your individuality, your unique personality shine through, that's really when you're going to be in the most service, because that's how the people who are really going to resonate with you are going to be able to find and connect with you. I think when we're kind of pretending to be what we think a yoga teacher should be like, and you do such a good job with this, Danny, because your personality is just so
bland.
Enough said. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's something that you said in there that I mean, I completely agree with you. Like, I'm in the same mindset that I truly believe that there's limitless potential for everybody. I think we're just atoms stacked on atoms, stacked on atoms, stacked on, which means that there's space for limit. Just there's tons of space for everybody and for everything. And one thing that you've really brought to, I don't think I've never told this to you in person, or well, I don't think I've ever said this to you in real time. But one thing that you've really have brought out of me is this mindset. And it's been through, I think I laughed when I was like, coaching is for dummies, when I was like, and you're like, no, Danny, you need to do this. And this is why. And, here I am, a few months into it with you. And it's like you have this magic. You're like you just go in there, Brett, and you're like, dee, 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 unlock. You go in there and you like program, and you're like, here you go.
I love working on mindset, especially with yogis and yoga teachers. But I mean, the reality is all of us can choose, myself included. And there's hours and moments briefly in some days where I do, to have that mindset where it's like, everyone's on IG Live. There's too much yoga. Like, It's a bloodbath. It's a competition. Like, I have small moments where I go there too, but then I pretty quickly try to snap out of it. And I mean, then there's also just being a savvy business person, right? Like, you do need to be aware of the landscape and what other people doing. Do I want to be doing free IG lives, or maybe I want to position myself slightly differently? There's always, in every situation in life, the opportunity to go down the path of scarcity / freaking out / in Kundalini, we call that the negative mind, right? And then you just realize your negative mind has value. It's there to protect you, right? Like, that's its purpose. But then you shift back to the neutral mind, and see that, really you can put whatever lens you want, on anything. Like, the sutras teach us that as well, right?
Yeah. I know when you work, I feel really lucky to be able to work with you privately, and I know you get booked up pretty quick. When do you normally, how do you onboard people when you decide, like, okay, it's time to take someone on and you're mentoring? Because I know you're very selective, and it's a golden ticket, I think, to work with you in that regard.
Oh, that's nice of you to say. Yeah, it's
you owe me $100.
It's been challenging during this period because I think I told you this, like, I've had so many requests for like coaching and things like that, and in consulting as well. And I haven't even been able to respond to some of those emails just because my priority is the trainings, but I think, get in touch. And I feel like most of the people I end up working with, like you, are people I know. It's like either through a friend of a friend, or through another mastermind, or through someone else's coach, or like, it's very rarely like a cold inquiry. But that, and there's a lot of alumni that I work with in this way too, who've been through the whole program, especially the 300-hour, because that has pretty much like a lot of the mindset work and business infrastructure stuff that I do with you. That is in that program. So that's a great place for yoga teachers. If you haven't done your 300-hour yet and you want to do it online, well, Yoga Alliance has no rules about it being done 100% online. You should do that right now.
I'll put a link in the show notes and in the
like October. Sign up.
Yeah, if it wasn't like, I'm doing my business mastermind coming up in October.
Yeah, which will be great. You guys should all sign up for that.
I'm so stoked. Yeah. Brett officially approved my page the other day. I made it while we were here, but I'm excited to get to share now the things that I get to learn, the snippets that I feel like I dialed in. There's so much that I'm still learning from you that, I wait before I process all that and share that out. But that's another one of those things that probably wouldn't have been birthed if it wasn't for that like mindset coaching.
I mean, I know, I can't believe it. How cool is it that you're like launching a business course when I feel like you were like terrified of business like a couple of years ago, you know what I mean? Or like an online business. So
well, I
really
just thought,
cool.
I had that story, like just the negative mindset. I had that story in my head that like, I mean, again, on a friend level, like I was like, oh, my childhood, I'm not worthy, blah, 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 blah,
Right.
blah, blah. But,
Boring.
Yeah.
We slayed that.
Yeah,
Not
totally.
interesting.
Totally.
Yeah, I love it. You're killing it. I love the app. I'm super excited for all your updates. It's, it's very exciting time for you.
It's like brought to you by Brett Larkin, man.
Wow. You work very hard, and
do.
you're a very talented teacher. That's always why I've been interested in
This is where
having our relationship.
This is the part of the show where I call the love fest.
Yeah.
We're like,
Okay. We gotta shut it down.
You're
We
the
gotta shut it
best.
down. Yeah.
Well, you're tired. I know you've been working all day as I have, and then you just put the baby to sleep. And oh, by the way, I'm totally going to post that as the cover of this show. Well, maybe I'll do a picture of us, but you took a picture of me and Alex.
Oh yeah, I'll send
It's
it to
so cute. You guys eat up this picture. I'm going to post it on Instagram. It's phenomenal. But you're sleepy. I'm sleepy. We got work to do tomorrow and over the weekend. So
This was super fun though.
yeah, it
Glad
was
we
super fun.
rallied.
Yeah, and we got to see each other in person to do it.
Yeah, really fun.
Well, to the next Yogi Misfit sessions, this is Danny and Brett saying peace out.